So our speakers today are Phil Lewis, who's a Technical Officer for the National Center for ONET Development. Also Dave Rivkin, Technical Officer for the National Center for ONET Development. And our moderator today is Grace Cobain. She is with the Office of Workforce Investment here at the Employment and Training Administration. Grace?
Good. Well, thank you, Gary, and welcome everyone who is joining us this morning. I have to say that we are really excited to introduce to you this new tool, mynextmove.gov, because this new tool really that we're going to demonstrate today is designed to address a lot of our goals in the workforce system, to help students and youth who are exploring careers, as well as workers who are out of work or in low-wage jobs, who are out of the labor market and are trying to find a better career pathway into middle class and better jobs. As I'm sure many of you know, the Occupational Information Network is our premier source of intelligence on about 900 occupations and on all occupational competency requirements and characteristics that we use in the workforce system. And since we first released this ONET Online, which was in June 2001, we have worked through the North Carolina Employment Security Commission with a grant to support that system and keep developing it. I'm sure that you all know, those of you that use it, that this resource, ONET Online, is really packed with all kinds of useful information about occupations, and that this new tool was really designed to make all of this information more readily accessible to a wider audience, easier to use, easier to navigate, and I think that that's one of the reasons we're so excited about it, and we think that it's particularly helpful for students, young adults, first-time workers, but also we believe that this is a really good tool for our system to use in helping people, for those that are on the front lines of the one-stop system or working in our youth programs, the Job Corps system, all of those programs that are serving youth who are trying to figure out where are their interests, what do they want to pursue, and get a really good picture of career pathways. So this is really for everyone, both individuals as well as our system, as well as those of you that are looking at how do we understand career pathways and explain them to particularly young people. So I want to thank Phil Lewis and David Rivkin, who are here with us today, as well as our staff here in ETA, particularly Pam Frugally, who have been the ones that have created this new tool that we're so excited about. And so without further ado, I think I'll turn it over to them so they can start walking us through it. So thanks again for joining us.
Well, thank you, Grace. I appreciate it. My name is Phil Lewis. I'm a technical officer at the National Center for ONET Development. And Dave Rivkin and I really appreciate the opportunity to conduct today's webinar and introduce to you My Next Move. The ONET Center put a lot of work into the design and development of My Next Move. And as Grace mentioned, we really think it's going to be a valuable tool for a lot of different DOL programs and initiatives. The basic idea behind My Next Move is to provide easy access to career options for a wide variety of folks. This could be people or individuals who are new to the workforce, people who are doing a first-time job search, individuals or young adults who are just doing career exploration, or also could be people who just have a little bit lower reading skills or a little bit lower computer skills. Again, the idea is to have an easy-to-use website that has simple but useful information for people to make a really important decision in their life, and that is, what do they want to do for a living? The development of My Next Move really was a great opportunity for the center, the ONET Center. It was the first time we were really able to target a particular audience in developing a website. And what this allowed us to do was a couple things. First, we focused on the content of the information. tried to make sure that it was appropriate for this audience. We reduced the reading level for a lot of the information. We also focused on how much information is displayed within the career reports and how it's organized to make it as useful as possible. We also put a lot of effort into the navigation of the site. One of our goals was to make sure that people using the site, even if they were a little bit intimidated by computers or hadn't used a lot of websites in the past, that they could successfully navigate through My Next Move and find what they were looking for. We did a lot of pilot testing on My Next Move, and Dave Rivkin is going to talk about in detail our pilot effort after I go through a walkthrough of the site. Basically, we're focused on making sure that the information is useful and that people can navigate through the site. And Dave is also going to talk a little bit about the feedback we've received on My Next Move since its release. One other design feature I'm going to talk about before I do My Next Move is one of our goals was to, for each career, get individuals to as specific information as possible. And how we did that was leverage existing DOL resources such as websites and data. So we tried to use technology to do deep links to things like job listings, training opportunities, apprenticeship opportunities, salary information. We tried to do it in a fashion where they could go directly to this information, but also navigate back to My Next Move and continue using the site effectively. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to the live website now. Gary's going to cover a few issues about and reminders about going through a live demonstration.
Thanks, Phil. So you're going to be seeing the broadcast window pop up on your screen, sort of taking the place of where the PowerPoint was. And you'll notice that there at the bottom left, you'll have the option to go to full screen mode if the content appears too small, and then you should see the scale to fit and scroll to fit option so that you can then enhance even further what we're broadcasting. But right now I'm going to turn things back over to Phil. Phil?
Great. Okay. So My Next Move can currently be accessed in two different locations. You can go to mynextmove.dol.gov, and you'll arrive at this landing page, which has My Next Move listed, and it also has My Skills, My Future, which is a complementary site available through DOL as well. You can also directly access the site through www.mynextmove.org. Taking a look at the site, first what we tried to do is make the site inviting and interesting for a wide variety of people. We tried to incorporate different color palettes. We have some icons, some graphics, but we also really tried to keep the site as simple as possible. When people are trying to figure out what they want to do for a living, they often come to it with three different types of perspectives. Some people kind of have a good idea what they want to do or what their dream career is going to be. And for those people, we have in here this section that's a keyword section. So I'll be covering that a little bit. So they would type in a keyword. A specific title works best, but they could also type in an activity as well. Some people will know it when they see it. In other words, they want to see a listing of choices to choose from, and a lot of times they kind of have a good idea of what type of business they want to work for or what type of industry they want to work for. So we have the careers sorted by industries that they could then choose from. And lastly, there are some individuals who really just aren't sure what they want to do in the future. And for these people, we have developed an interest profiler on the web. This is the first time we have a web version of the very popular ONET Interest Profiler. We've had that tool for about 10 years. This is a shortened version of that tool that's taken on the web, which will help people first identify what their vocational interests are, and then it'll give them a list of careers that match those interests that they could then search through and explore further. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move over to the keyword search area, and I'm going to type in something that we actually saw an individual during our pilot type into the keyword search. The individual typed in fixed wiring. I'm going to hit search. And while this is pulling up, the ONET program puts a lot of effort into the behind-the-scenes algorithm and data that's used by the keyword search to really make sure it comes up with great results. As you can see, what happens next is that you'll get a list of 20 careers that potentially match with the keyword fixed wiring. Throughout the site, we emphasize three types of information for each career. We emphasize whether a career is a bright outlook occupation, These are occupations where there are new job opportunities likely in the future, and this is based on whether or not there's projected growth for this career, lots of job openings are projected in the future, or it's a new and emerging occupation. We also put a lot of emphasis on whether the occupation is being affected by the green economy. Maybe the green economy is projected to add more demand for this occupation, might be changing the skills and knowledges needed for the occupation, or it could be the very reason why the occupation was born. A third piece of information we put on each career is apprenticeship information. Apprenticeship at Department of Labor is a big initiative. It's a great way for low-entry folks to get training and skills while earning a paycheck, and we try to emphasize and highlight those careers that have that opportunity available to them. I'm now going to move over to and select electricians. We have for each career, we have a one-page report that really has the most important information for that career. So for electricians, up on top, they're also called maintenance electrician, sometimes inside wireman. The ONET data collection program collects a lot of different job titles for these careers and occupations, and we display a sample of those within the report. The individual then learns what they would do. In this case, they would install, maintain, and repair electrical wiring equipment and fixtures. They get to see some of the important tasks that are done on the job as well. So they have to maintain their license, they have to connect wires to circuit breakers, they have to repair or replace wiring. Moving down a little bit, then you get into what are the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are important for this career. So for an electrician, in terms of knowledge, they do have to have some engineering and technology knowledge. They have to know about building and construction. They have to be able to do math and science, such as algebra and geometry. A lot of these folks work for themselves as well. They have to have some management skills. Certainly, you hope that your electrician has customer service knowledge as well. Moving over to the skills, basic skills are things such as listening to others, not interrupting, and asking good questions. This is actually an example of a simplified version of something we call active listening in the more detailed information. They have to be able to problem solve. There's a lot of physical abilities involved with this too. They have to be able to hold and move items with their hands, keep their hands steady, use logic as well, be able to listen to what people are saying and communicate, and have a visual understanding as well. For each career, we also have personality information. So electricians tend to be practical, hands-on, problem-type people. They have to pay attention to detail, be dependable, cooperate. The ONET program collects information called tools and technology. This is the machine, equipment, tools, and technology required for each occupation or career. In these reports, we chose to highlight some specific examples of technology because we think it's important to point out that every occupation in today's world of work really needs technology to be able to do it correctly. So we provide some detailed examples of the type of specific technology that some people in these careers use. Now I'm going to move over to the education area. The ONET program collects information on education. In this case, electricians usually need some college or high school diploma. And now I'll move into the first case where we're going to do a deep link, that leveraging of other information. We're going to do a deep link into training. I'm going to select Find Training. And for today's thing, I'm going to select Virginia. And I'm going to hit Go. So what this is going to do is going to go into Department of Labor's other site, My Skills, My Future, and do a deep link to training opportunities for electricians in Virginia. And I'm going to scroll through down here slowly. You can see there's 8 programs that were found. And here's where you can get very specific information about what the program is and how you can get more information about it from the particular program provider. One thing you'll notice is that up top here, there's an easy way to get back to the report. What we found in our pilot testing is people can't always use the back button, but this navigation, and by having the window up on top always available, people were able to navigate through my next move very successfully. So I'm going to hit back to electricians. Okay. Now I'm going to scroll down slowly back I'm going to highlight now the Registered Apprenticeship feature. I'm going to select that button. You'll notice that the state I put in initially is maintained within the selection box. Of course, you could change it if you wanted to do a different state. I'm going to hit go. For apprenticeship programs, we have a lot of different choices for people. Some careers, like electricians, are going to have very specific apprenticeship opportunities available. Let's say a construction electrician. I'm going to select that. It's going to take a little bit of time to churn, but it should pull up in a second. See, all right. Well, we also have other options for folks in case these deep links. This is deep linking into the apprenticeship site within the Department of Labor. Let me try a different one, or if not, we'll move on. Okay. If for some reason that site is not up or working, what we also try to do is provide people with other options. So we'll provide them with a link to the specific state they chose, that state's apprenticeship website. So now you go over to the virginia.gov and their page on apprenticeships. We also have specific contact information available. A lot of times people want to be able to actually email or call someone about apprenticeship opportunities. And lastly, we also, for younger folks or just people who are interested in kind of blogs and that kind of a community approach, we link to Department of Labor's 21st Century Apprenticeship Community site. And here you get into a site where you can get blogs on apprenticeship opportunities. There are discussion rooms. There are popular topics. So it's just another type of information available on apprenticeships. I go back to Career Report. I'm now going to go down to the Job Outlook section. What we did for my next move with the Outlook information is came up with 3 categories of Outlook: Bright Outlook, Average Outlook, and Below Average Outlook. And we did this because a lot of times the Outlook numbers are given to folks like there's going to be 10,000 more jobs, or there's going to be an 8% increase in the job, and that really is difficult for most people to understand what that means. So by coming up with these 3 categories, it really is found to be helpful to folks. We've got a lot of positive feedback on that. They also can learn about what the average salary is nationally. You can do a local salary function as well. I'm actually going to put in a zip code from North Carolina. I had 3 participants in our pilot studies who really wanted to know about this local salary information, and at first we did not have it available, and we've added that feature, and it's great to get feedback from folks. So I'm going to put in 27605 and hit go. This is now doing a deep link into Department of Labor's Career One-Stop site, and then you'll see that that zip code was for Raleigh, North Carolina, and unfortunately if you're an electrician in North Carolina, you're going to earn quite a bit less than the national average for electricians. I'm now going to go back to electricians. Come down. We also note for each occupation, if it's part of that green economy, it gets tagged here in the bottom. Electricians are. Let's go to the Find Jobs feature now. As you can see, Virginia is still in there. We have 2 choices to find jobs for folks. The first one is actually getting to very specific job listings that are listed within My Skills, My Future. So I have Virginia selected. I hit the Go button. And this lets me know that there are 36 job listings for electricians within Virginia. And this is how you can actually apply directly for these jobs. You can sort by location once you're in here. You could also do a particular zip code once you're in here. This is some very specific listing opportunities for electricians. I'm going to go back to the Find Jobs feature. This time I'm going to click on State, National, and Veterans Job Banks. What we found in pilot testing is a couple things. Sometimes one-stop centers or employment centers, they would prefer folks to be able to get to their state's job bank. So if you select on this, I was at an employment center in Virginia or one-stop center, they could then go into the state's job bank. A lot of times folks are already signed up through that as well. Other things is that sometimes people are signed up in national job banks. They are already familiar. They've already gone to Monster or HireMeNow.com or FlipDog. They already have accounts in there. So we have some listings of national job banks where people can look for occupations and jobs opportunities as well. And finally, on the bottom, we have veteran resources. So here's where people who are veterans can find opportunities as well. I'm going to go back to Electrician. Come down to the bottom. There are Explore More. These are related type of occupations that are available. It lets you know what industry also electricians typically work in. One interesting thing is we found in the pilot that people like the one-page report on careers, but about a third of the people actually wanted to get more detailed information about a particular career. And if you go down to the See More Details at Own It Online and select that button, it'll do a deep link into Own It Online where there's more detailed information that they could then look at if they want to explore it further. They can go back to electricians here. Okay. Another feature I think is very popular, we noticed during doing the pilot test that often one-stop centers and other types of employment transition centers, they have a bank of computers, and they usually have one printer where everybody's printing to. So what you can do here now is for the report, if you hit the print button, I can put my name on the report, and then when they print out the report, the person's name will be included within the report. So that's an overall viewpoint of what's available for each career. Now I'm going to go back to home. And this time I'm going to be one of those individuals who wanted to see choices by industry. So I'm going to select health and counseling. Then I'm going to hit browse. And what this does is give me a list of careers where most people work in health and counseling. I can come down here now. I notice, health and counseling in particular is a lot of different job opportunities for different skilled individuals. I can just pick cardiovascular technicians as an example. I can go back to industries. I'm just going to show you one other thing. This time I'm going to pick hotel and food. Hit go. The industry listings have it where most people work in that industry. We also have for each one where some people work in that hotel and food industry. And then what you can do is you can come over to here. There's a button right here. Where do they work? And you can learn what other industries do these folks work in. So for concierge, they work in hotel and food, but they also work in real estate rentals and service. And this is particularly useful if you're a concierge and the local tourism really has slowed down quite a bit and you need to figure out where else you might be able to get a job. You can then try to find it in a real estate or rental place or service as well. So it's just another cut of the information that's available. Now let's go back up to home. And now I'm going to go into the interest profiler. I'm going to hit start. So this is the web-based version of the interest profiler. And I'll give a little overview. I'll hit next. What people are going to do is they're going to get some work activities, and they're going to indicate whether they strongly like, dislike, or unsure like, or strongly like that work activity. And again, this is supposed to be focusing on vocational interests, so they're not supposed to think about the amount of education or money they're going to make. It's also not a test. There are no right or wrong answers. It's just useful information for people to find out about themselves. Then they actually move into the items. So for this case, they indicate whether they strongly dislike, or even like or strongly like building kitchen cabinets, laying brick or tile. As they move through the 60 items, there is a progress bar that lets them know how far they're going. For today's purpose, I'm going to go back to the start page, and I'm going to select Enter Scores. If someone has taken the interest profiler before, maybe doesn't have enough time to do all the exploring, they could come back and re-enter their scores. Another thing that's nice about this is they've taken another Holland RIASEC-based interest measure, let's say through the ASVAB program or ACT or other types of measures. They could type in the information within this setting and it will work. What I have now is an actual profile of one of our pilot participants anonymously that we have. I'm going to put in here. Putting in 10, 15, this is for 10, 30, 20, and for conventional, this person had a 10. Then I'm going to hit next. Now this page here would be the same page you would arrive at if you'd actually taken the interest profile measure. So this person has highest interest area was social. Their lowest was artistic. For each one of these, you can learn about what they are. So what is social? Here. You can also print out a score report from this point here as well. Okay. We'll keep moving on. We talk about something called job zones within the ONET career exploration tools. That's how much experience, education, and training that you have. And we talk about it in terms of current job zone versus future job zone. So for the current job zone, that's how much you have at this moment. So if you're a high school student, you drop out, you don't have any experience, you'll be in job zone 1. But if you went on to get an associate's degree or college, that might be your future job zone. I'm going to click next. Let's select job zone 1 for right now. Moving over to here. So this is now the overview of what's going to go into finding the occupations. It's the person's entire interest profile, what they like and dislike, as well as job zone 1. And here are the returns. So for job zone 1, this is with no preparation, no education really. Here are the choices that match up this particular person's interest profile. You can switch to job zone 2, and you'll see that the occupation starts becoming a little more sophisticated. You can click, let's say we'll click on dietech technicians. What happens is a separate window opens up, and you can learn about what that occupation or career does. You can move along to job zone 3 and job zone 4. What sometimes happens is if people have a very flat interest profile, they might not get a lot of choices returned to them, or sometimes people don't really want to use their whole profile. This person with highest interest area with social, they may view themselves as the enterprising type of a person. They don't really care about their whole profile. If they want to go that approach, they can hit Find More Careers, and they could then select Enterprising, and they're going to get all of the occupations that are within job zone 4 that are linked to enterprise. So it's just giving people a different option on how to explore based on their interest areas. Let's go to home. There are 3 other cuts of available to folks. You can do a search just by Bright Outlook here. So let's say you want to see all of the Bright Outlook occupations that are expected to grow rapidly. You could also sort those to the top, which ones of those are green. go in there. So another way or opportunity for people to take a different cut on the available careers. Same thing is available for green. I could look at all of them where the green economy is changing the work, and I could decide I want a registered apprenticeship opportunity, so I could sort that as well. And now you have all the ones where the work is changing because of the green economy, plus there's apprenticeship opportunities available as well. I'm going to go back to home and go down. So you could also look at all the occupations or careers that there's an apprenticeship opportunity available on. And then lastly, what we have is for some folks, they just want to get an alphabetical list of all the careers. So you can come to here and see all careers. And here you'll have just an alphabetical list of all the careers available. One other feature I want to highlight is for people who are program directors or counselors, and they want to know more about how this site is actually working. If you go to About This Site and you select the button down there, here's where we list off where we got all the information, what the rules are for, let's say, the bright, average, and below average outlook information. There's also information about the interest profile you can get to as well. For each career, if you collect career data source list, you can select this, and let's say we had earlier looked at electricians. If I click on the E, I can select electrician, and this is where the detailed information about where exactly every piece of data on that career is available for the person to find out about. One other feature I'll show you, under the ONET sites, if your program is interested in directly linking to My Next Move, if you go to the Resource Center, which I access on the bottom right-hand corner, and then I go over to the Developer section. If you go to Link to Us, this is where you can do a direct link to the home page, to a particular page within the report, or to the interest profiler directly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dave Rivkin. He's going to go again over in more detail our pilot study efforts. There you go, Dave.
Thanks, Phil. That was a very thorough walkthrough. I learned even more about My Next Move. I just wanted to tell folks about some pilot work that we did in developing My Next Move. It was important to us to really make sure that this application was going to work for a number of different groups that the Department of Labor serves. So we pilot tested the instrument in several states, including Virginia, North Carolina, and the District of Columbia. We went to adult basic education centers, one-stop centers, job corps, employment service centers, some skill transition centers. And we tried out My Next Move with both professional staff, the counselors, program administrators, and actual clients. We asked them to actually use My Next Move to complete a survey where we asked them questions about whether they liked it, whether they could understand it, was it easy to navigate, what kinds of things that they would want to fix and change. And then we also asked them to participate in actual focus groups. And we really did get some great feedback. As Phil mentioned as he went through his presentation, we tried to incorporate some of the feedback that people gave us. In terms of who the clients were that we pilot tested with, they were people that were seeking reemployment. They were adult learners in basic education programs, English as second language programs, workplace literacy programs. They were in career transition, and they were also exploring careers. And the average age of the people in the who participated in the pilot test was about 44, but there were people in there as young as 16, as old as 65. So we really had a range of folks. The majority had a high school degree or less. About a little over 60%. Some had 2-year degrees, and about a quarter had 4-year degrees. So we kind of got people with range of age, range of education. They were in different programs, seeking different services. So we felt like we covered people with quite a bit of different characteristics. So what kind of feedback did we get? Well, from the staff, they really liked the way it looked, how it felt. They liked the content. They thought the directions were easy to understand. They thought the reports would be useful. And overwhelmingly, they said that they would encourage their clients to use My Next Move, and they wanted to incorporate it into their programs. They really felt that it was a missing tool that they didn't have. In terms of what clients said, again, they found it easy to use. They could follow the directions. They thought that the site would really help them achieve their goals, to identify careers to explore, to identify training, to find job openings. They would use it again. And lots of them talked to us about how they would recommend it to family and friends. We heard many parents say how they would, tell their kids about it, and even if their kids weren't looking for jobs now, they would definitely have them use the tool to learn about the world of work and find out about education and training requirements. Since we released the tool, during the first week we had over 50,000 users, and we started getting feedback immediately from career counselors, from different programs, somebody at Arizona State University where they have a very large career counseling program and career education. They really liked the site. They really felt like it was going to help students who were not sure of their careers. They liked that I'm not really sure section. They were really happy to see that the interest assessment was on there in a shortened form. So they were very happy to find it and incorporate it into their program. Another career counselor, Dr. Bruce Biskin, he was really happy with it. He really felt again that this was a huge leap forward in career exploration. He felt like this was a tool that his users could use without a whole lot of training, that he could just point them in that direction, and they would be able to use it. We also recently got some feedback from DC Move, which is an adult education program in DC, where again they felt that this was a tool that was missing before, where they really could help clients on their own, explore careers and find really useful information. So again, we think that it appears thus far that folks are really interested in it, that they're using it. We hope the word gets out about it and that people give us feedback. We're always looking for feedback and to find out other ways to improve it. So we look forward to hearing from people.
Okay, we have some of the questions that people have.
Yeah, we actually have a poll up for you right now, and the way you're going to participate is if you're in full screen mode, you're going to want to deselect. And the polling question we have in front of you is how many of you currently use or plan to use these tools. You can select more than one, so if you're planning to use both ONET Online and My Next Move, you can check both boxes, or if you're just wanting to choose ONET, you can select that box, just mouse over and left-click the box to the left of the selection. We're able to see in real time the selection you're making. It looks pretty even with a few of you, more of you choosing ONET Online, but a lot of you are also saying that you're going to be using both, kind of evening out there a little bit. We're going to leave this up for a few more seconds, but we do see a lot of you are actually typing in some questions. We have a lot of questions in the queue, so we're going to, I think, move in a few seconds after we bring this poll down to the questions section of our webinar. And I did see somebody ask earlier how if they weren't able to jot down everything that they were saying. It's a lot of content to go through. They were asking if we were recording today's webinar. We have recorded it. We are recording it, and we're going to be posting the recording to Workforce 2.1, but more on that later. It looks like everybody that was going to participate in the webinar has, so I think I will turn things back over to Phil and Dave.
Great. Just looking at some of your questions, one question was, how often is the data updated in My Next Move? The ONET information included in there was such as the knowledge, skills, abilities, information, is updated once a year. So we get new data for about 100 occupations or careers every year, and that information will be updated within that. That also includes the job titles, a lot of the work activities, etc. The information, let's say from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the projections information, that gets updated every 2 years. So I think they're due for one next year, I believe, to update. So when that information is available, we'll include that in there.
Well, there's a question about the technical requirements, and again, this should work on IE6.
Right. Basically, it'll work on IE6. It's going to work a lot better on IE7 and 8. When we develop a new website now, there really isn't a whole lot of support materials for developing it to make sure it works 100% within IE6. But we did our best to do it as best as possible. The 3 categories of outlooks are bright outlook, average outlook, and below average outlook. And again, you can get the criteria for what goes into those categories on the About This site link that's at the bottom of each page on My Next Move.
And right now we're just reviewing the questions that are coming in.
Yeah, for privacy purposes, somebody said, well, can you access you take the interest profiler, can I access the results later? And the Department of Labor does not want us to save any of the individual information like a database you can access later on. What you can do is save it to a file or print out the score report, and then you're going to go back to that entry screen that I showed and re-enter the scores at this point in time. The 6 scores.
The tool was released February 3rd of this year. It's live. The tool is live now.
If you go on to Workforce 3.1, you can print out these PowerPoints again.
Right, so we are archiving the PowerPoints. You can access them after today's session at any point.
In terms of minimum reading level, we tried to make it 6th grade reading level. Again, some of the areas might be slightly higher, but what I will tell you is that people in the pilot test had a variety of education levels and a variety of reading levels, and they seemed to do quite well.
One of the questions was on state-specific information. Like, for instance, we did try to include the state-specific information on the salary information. So where possible, where we can do that, we will include that. We do not collect like knowledge, skills, and abilities by state, however.
In the future. Regarding any new sites in the works, we based on feedback, developments are added, and My Skills, My Future also has sort of a development plan. They just added a feature where you can restrict what you're looking at based on certain work preferences. So yes, features are coming out on sort of on a rolling basis.
We do have in the future plans to develop a Spanish version of My Next Move as well. That was one of the questions. One person asked, are there cheat sheets available to customers? We're hopeful through all of our piloting that people can really navigate and use the site without those cheat sheets, and we're pretty confident they can. We really fine-tuned it. A lot of that feedback that Dave talked about is people were able to successfully navigate throughout the site. They figured out the 3 different search options. They looked at the careers. They printed out their reports. it found the job listings and training. So we're hopeful that we've developed a site in a fashion that won't require cheat sheets.
And the other thing we are working on a short course on My Next Move, and if you go to the Own It Academy website, that should be up in a couple of weeks. That'll be a shorter version of this webinar where there'll be that might be helpful for people to use. If you sign up for our Own It updates, you'll get a notice about when that's been posted. And you can sign up on the Own It for Own It updates on our ownitcenter.org site.
Someone asked, when taking the assessment tool, is there information for the job counselor or specialist? The career guides, counselor guides for the interest profiler are still applicable to this one as well. So we do have that type of resources available you can get from the Resource Center and download and use it as a counselor.
Oh, there's a question about, has a guidance letter been released from USDOL, the State Workforce Agency? It's actually going to be a training and employment notice. We're making final corrections. We hope to get it out very shortly. Thank you.
I think earlier somebody asked about, how are these occupations selected for the site? And again, these are based on the ONET, the occupations in ONET, which are linked to the standard occupational classification system.
I am seeing requests for some kind of printed material that could be used, to show the site and give you a few tips on how you can access it. So I'm sure we can develop something and make that available through a PDF that we would post.
And I think that course that we have will serve that. It has that information. So. Again, somebody's asking about the newsletter. There's ONET updates that you can sign up for. If you go to ownitcenter.org, you can sign up for the ONET updates, and you'll get an email when we update information in ONET or we release a new tool or new services.
But whether the job outlook information is based strictly on projections and that they're not always reliable. We do know, they are long-term. They're assuming nothing like a downturn. But it's still a good guide for sorting things because over the long term, these are the careers that are expected to recover. And, work is being done on real-time job information now as people figure out ways to display that easily. It's something that we could consider, but it's not there yet to adapt that. But that's a good idea.
Well, the third aspect for the Bright Outlook is that we do include new and emerging occupations as well. But what we wanted to do for the three Outlook criteria is just to make it very clear as to what's going into that criteria. So, again, you can look and see what the specific criteria is, and then we have a way of updating it whenever we get new information. And like Sam says, if there's a new source of data that we can use that's reliable and we can get to on an updated basis, we'll try to incorporate that as well.
questions about the job banks. I just want to say some of that is related to My Skills, My Future and how that works, or the job banks themselves work. But I mean, they are going to live job banks, so they're updated as the job banks update them. You know, they're not done by this application, by my next move.
Right. We're linking to those job banks and to My Skills, My Future that are and those sites are providing those job openings.
And that's really the great thing is that we're leveraging those sites, and those people are the experts on the job openings and job listings in banks. So that way, we're linking to the latest and greatest. I think that one of the software developers wanted to know about using the interest profile. Right now, you can again link directly to it. If you go to the ONET Resource Center under the developers corner, you can do link to us. We can go link directly to it. There are papers, technical reports available on the development of the short form of the interest profiler, as well as how we link the person's scores to the occupation interest information. In the past, people have taken the papers and chosen to develop their own versions of the interest profiler as well.
And while we're looking at some of the questions, you'll notice I've placed a poll at the top left-hand of your screen to let us know a little bit about how the demo went, basically how it looked in the webinar platform itself. The options you have is great. It was like I was looking at my own monitor. Beneath that, the option you have is I was able to follow along. And then beneath that, it was very choppy and hard to ascertain what was happening. So if you would, let us know what it looked like on your screen. We'd appreciate it.
There is a question about are other training providers included beside community colleges, and the answer is yes. Scroll down.
Okay, it looks like we've exhausted most of the questions. We're coming to the very end of our time. I want to thank everybody for participating in the poll, and we're getting actually a lot of feedback about how you think the site was great, so thank you for that. So I think we're going to press on. We actually are going to let you know that we are giving you today's speakers' contact information, their email address. So if you want to reach out after today's webinar, shoot them an email. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, there you go. And we also have the site up for ONET Center, and it looks like the email address for ONET Center as well. So I want to move into talk about a little bit about Workforce Student. If you have any content that you'd like to share, any programs to feature, any best practices, if you click the Share Content link on the home page, you'll be able to upload a document or a web resource or a website so you can share information with your peers. And I know some of you have asked, so I'm sure that some of you are wondering if you weren't joining us at the very beginning. We have recorded today's session. To access the recording, all you need to do is log into your Workforce Student account. From there, automatically, you're taken to your dashboard page. And if you then mouse down and click the Attended tab, you'll have access to all of today's resources, the PowerPoint, the transcript, excuse me, and the recording. The transcript and recording will be up in 2 business days. The PowerPoint is already up for you to access. And that PowerPoint has a lot of the screen captures that reference what we actually went over today. But I think it might be better if you're wanting to follow along if you came back for the recording, which would be up in 2 days, 2 business days, I should say. I want to let you know a little bit also about how you can, one moment. About the dashboard feature on your, excuse me, the community section on your dashboard, which, if you didn't know, you can become a member of our communities of practice on Workforce 3.1, and you can actually aggregate the information from those communities of practice without having to navigate out to them through this activity stream. You can sort that information, whether it's wiki posts, blog posts, or document posts from those communities of practice through this activity stream. You can go from newest to oldest or by specific community of practice. Now, our webinars, which feature leaders and experts from industry and from government, we archive all of them, and you can access them through the webinars link at the top of the homepage. You can go back and search through this calendar interface, or if you mouse down and click list of all available recordings, we sort it from newest to oldest, so you can always enter in a keyword search or choose from any of the drop-downs we provide. And our podcast, which you can access much the same way, you can listen to from your desktop or download it to your computer or MP3 player if you're on the go. And our newsletter, which goes out at the end of every month, we archive it, so if you're not registered to receive it, we post that, and that features information about the workforce system and about content on Workforce Through and upcoming sessions. And our resources, which number in the thousands, we make available as well. So if you're wanting to maybe go and download something that is relevant to your field, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. See if somebody posted something to Workforce Through or to our communities of practice. So we really want to let you know that this information is free to you. All you need to do is come to Workforce Through or our communities of practice to access this wealth of information. So with that, I want to wrap up today's webinar by thanking you all for joining us, our speakers for joining us here as well. And if you want to know more about the workforce system, you can visit www.careeronestop.org, or you can call 1-877-US2-JOBS. We hope to see you on future webinars. Have a great day.